It's time for an Ork tier list, part 2. So check out part 1 if you haven't seen it, where we did all the characters. We gave them their own criteria and such. But today we have all the other data sheets, the transports, the vehicles, everything that considered other. So we also have today War Boss Brandon. So he's a channel moderator. He's a competitive player out west in America. So hello, Brandon. How you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Coming to you live from my wife's makeup room. She's got a dedicated makeup room, and behind me, my little rack where I keep some of my spare models, because I keep 3 of everything.
Exactly. You always got to show off the models. And so today, as Brandon knows, and if you guys have seen before, we actually have a criteria that we're going to be scoring units by. So this criteria is max potential, utility, detachment, flexibility / list flexibility, and then points. So to explain it just a little bit real quick, the max potential is the unit's performance at its role under ideal conditions or at its max potential. Then for utility, it's the diversity in roles and or niche rules, right? So if I have really unique rules itself and it's flexible, would get a higher score. Then we have detachment list and flexibility. So that's the use of the unit in multiple detachments and its use for certain archetypes. So if it can be important in an archetype, and then if it takes keywords or stratagems, right? So that's important. It's synergy with a unit, detachment or list. And then for points, just point straight efficiency, pretty straightforward there. Of course, if you need to reference things back, we'll go back to it, but that'll help us get to overall scoring of this. That's why it's not too much preferences, not too abstract and fun, like odd as sometimes tier lists can get. So we're going to try to make this kind of big brain boys thought out, but also have fun with it. So of course, if you have your own ideas, let us know in the comments and in the live chat. You guys did affect last time where some of the units ended up. Your mom made sense. And, you know, since we have a criteria, I have to adhere to it if I hear a good argument. So today, Brandon did also have his own tier list, like that he already knew using this criteria. So you're going to hear us argue about it a little bit, which some of us, we disagreed on some things. We glazed on some other things. Very straightforward, as we like to do. So, Brandon, you ready?
Oh, yeah, bro. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. So we're starting with the big head boss head bunker. No, I'm just kidding. That's a run. So let's get into it for real. We're going to start off with everyone's favorite, up to being judged first, the battle wagon. Yeah, let's go. So battle wagon's kind of being looked on very often right now in the meta. So let's be up with this. So as for its max potential, I'm going to go ahead and give it a 3 for its max potential, a 3 for its utility, a 3 for its detachment flexibility, and a 4. Now I've seen that. I know that seems a bit flat, but hear me. That's also a good reason I'm going first with it, so it can kind of give the outline for how we're using this criterion scoring service. So for points, I gave it a 4, which was the interesting part. But let me hear first what Brandon does before we get into this, because we're both going to go back and forth and try to get a nice whole number in his rating here. So Brandon, what do you got for your battle wagon?
So very close. I gave it a 2 for max potential because I'm not seeing the max potential that you're seeing with it's like 6 the Breaka attacks, as well as like the stupid one-shot gun and the labo, whatever. Who cares?
Yeah.
Utility, I got a 3. Detachment flexibility, I'm right there with you. I got a 3. And points, for what it offers for that point characteristic, I'm right there with you. It's a 4. It's actually really, really good on points.
Yeah, for sure. That does give it, based off my scoring, a 13 overall on score. Was yours a 12? I rated it
12. That's still a big 12. Boss.
So we're both agreeing as of right now that it's low big boss tier. Now for max potential, why I did give it a 3 is because if everything goes your way, you're staging up with a big unit that can also go and fight after it's delivered. It can clear up its screens. I know you don't consider its shooting that often, because I know neither do I, but it's fighting and its tank shock do matter. Also, its OC can matter. And how the meta is working out right now, Orks are building their list. Its max potential alongside its utility can't go beyond, like, below a 3, in my opinion, as we're using a 5-point scoring system here. So we still have it both at big boss. Let's keep it there. It is mostly just a transport, which is why it falls right there in the middle. And Orks have good transports. Really what pushes it over the edge is its cost and its flexibility. in my opinion, for the battle wagon. But let's go on with the Breaka Boys for you. Where do you have our Breaka Boys, our beloved Breaka Boys, on this one?
And this is a unit I love, right? I'm a TAC player. I love me some Breaka Boys, right? So for max potential, I got him at a 4. For utility, I got him at a 2 because you don't really can do much with them outside of beating somebody up. Detachment flexibility, I gave him a 3. And points wise, I gave them a 3 because they're right in the middle of the board of the points. They could be cheaper. I'd be really happy about it. They could be more expensive, and I'd be sad about it. So they sit right in that middle line, coming out of the 12 for big balls.
Okay, I gave them a 4 for max potential because I do say when you do give them the sustain, the big boss, their dev wounds can really go off and they can punch up into really, really big targets. And under ideal conditions, they get their bomb squig off as well. They fit good in the SWAT teams, but I give them a little higher utility score because of the size of their unit for how hard they hit and they can punch up. Unlike maybe a Nob unit, even though we're going to talk about Nobs themselves, at a 5-man, size, they fit the similar transport capabilities in its utility, but then they also have some mortals. They have the dev wounds built into there, and they can kind of go on their own. So they got a 4, a 3, and then for detachment flexibility, I still gave them a 3, and then for points, I gave them a 3 as well. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I disagree in the utility thing is I think that them being 6 in a unit, which is a weird size rather than 5, and that stupid Nob having the bigger base makes it weird when it shouldn't be.
Yeah, you think so? Like, yeah, that is pretty annoying for that case. That's true. It's true, but it still works out for what it is. Oop, yeah, something up on here. Yeah, for sure. I have the criteria up there, but we both have them at the big boss right now. Let's see. Got something popped up on the screen, so I'll go on with that one. Do you want to go next into the Burner Boy for your next one? Now, this is one where I think we kind of disagreed. I think you give Burner Boy a little bit more love than I do.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
Good thing I got the receipts and I did my homework, right?
Yeah, so I know, because and sometimes I'm just like a hater of a unit, which is why we have the criteria thing here, right? To make people like, well, hey man, other times you said things and how do you actually feel about it? So tell me. I'm all ears here. I'm willing to be spoken to.
So for max potential, I gave him a 3. So utility, I gave him a 2. Detachment flexibility, I gave him a 2. Points, I gave him a 3 for a total of 10, making them lads, right? They're lads, no thing. Give the quick hitter for points or for max potential. A bigger squad with the K and Bs, getting the rerolls on the objectives. Flamers can always be flaming, right? And the fact that they are one of our few sources of AP2 in melee is a nice little buff for them, right? So they're not knocking anything out of the park, but I've given them a respectable 3 for the output that they can put out in the largest squad, right? Utility, they don't really do much except die when you want to move block or do something and move 6, right? So you get a 2. Detachment flexibility, nobody really loves them, but Dread Mob and possibly more DACA. So cool, you get a 2 on detachment flexibility. And points-wise, they would have been a 4. They would have still been that nice Lootas points, but since they went up, they got bumped to a 3. It's kind of on par average for what you expect for 5 T5 idiots. 1 wound apiece.
Yeah, I got them a 3, 1, 2, 3. Right, so they're really just for points cost. I almost wanted to give them a 2. It's because I don't like their datasheet ability. The fact that you have to be within 6 inches really gets on my nerves. They have no AP on their flamers and their strength 4. On top of that, the spanner, it really an annoyance in this unit for me as well, because it's trying to do something else that they're not doing. His gun generally is kind of almost like a waste of time to roll it. Now, of course, I've had him go off. Who hasn't if you've played enough games with Orks? But this unit for me, it did only get a 9, but I was even willing to drop it to like a 7 or 8 overall when I looked at it, just because I'm really not into Burner Boys right now. So when we go through the rankings and we kind of adjust units through it, I might swap him even lower than other things we talk about. Another one we kind of disagreed with that I wanted to talk about was the Deff Dread. Let's pull up Mr. Deff Dread here real quick.
Oh, we're gonna scrap. I'm guessing you had him lower than I did.
Yeah. So for max potential, I gave him a 3. For utility, I gave him a 2. Detachment flexibility, I gave him a 3. Almost consider giving him a 2. And then for points, I gave him a 2. Even with the rules consideration and everything. So overall, he'd be a 10. He'd be like a mid-tier lad. Right there in smack dab in the middle, kind of lower middle. Where do you have the Deff Dread? Because I remember seeing kind of some of the things you were saying.
I got him at Big Boss. I got him at Big Boss category. So for max potential,
what max the heck? Okay, I'll hear you out.
Hear me out, baby. Max potential, I gave him a 4. Okay. Right? The reason why is look at him, his loadout. Either you got one of two ways of doing it. You got his all melee loadout in Warhorde, which I will tell you, by the way, it does well for nice strength, like few sources of strength 12. Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
And then damage 3 all day, right? You look at a shooting build out where if you're going more DACA or if you're going Dread Mob, 4 KMBs can just totally tactical nuke something. It can totally do nothing and blow yourself up, but it can tactical nuke, and we're talking max potential, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, that's what I literally called him in the video, the nuke, right? That was the outline. And when you run all KMBs, he's like, you're doing it, but you're gone after. So mutual assured destruction in that case.
Yeah, 2 years ago, Nova, I took a Land Raider out and myself in the same turn. It was the greatest thing ever, right? Yeah. Utility, I gave him a 2 because, like, I think he would have had more utility with the Battle Shock piece, but now he's just mortals. It's less utility, but he's still, toughness 9, 2-up save. He's move 10 or 8, I think. He's decent move. He gets jiggy with it. Like a 2 is a respectable score. Detachment flexibility, I gave him a 3 because of the amount of attachments that he works with and actually has decent synergy with it. It's nothing that we're going crazy over. It's fairly normal. In points, I gave him a 3 because when you look at it, he's average on par with your other Dreadnought variant kind of units. And now that he's a better rule of dealing mortals on the charge, like you now can stack up, and it's a pretty good points value for being able to dish out mortals, tank shock, and then still be able to have that number of attacks. Fell right in line for me for a 12. Big Boss.
Yeah, no, I gave him a 3 for max potential because his max potential is based off his current cost. And I think for that cost, that's kind of what I'm expecting as something getting maybe a buff from a mech, a detachment rule, stratagems, and its actual ideal conditions in fighting. And I'm thinking it's getting stratagems maybe even in 2 phases or something, right? It's one of those things that I think it's barely like right. It could, in some cases, hopefully, and for some people think of conditions, it could be a 4, maybe. But I still think at its point cost, and it's kind of like roll what it's doing. It's a 3. For utility, it's I have it as a 2 because I think even for his toughness thing that you were mentioning and that I talk about too in the videos that I speak about for Dread Mob making him possibly -1 damage. The issue here is how people can assuredly deliver damage to him with really good AP all the time, right? It's almost like a detriment for him on your list, in my opinion, actually, where enemies can surgically remove him because a lot of units that are lower cost than him have really efficient tools for killing him. And his durability it gives you a false understanding of his utility because one Melta unit from a battle sister squad can almost automatically one-shot him with a battle dice, right? With a sister's miracle dice, for example. I called it battle dice. And let's see, a World Eater's Chaos Spawn with stratagem buffs and additional AP, and it's just
a Chaos Spawn is not taking out your boy.
His utility isn't really that real. Is my the defense is my point. So I gave him a 2, and then for the points, I actually still gave him a 2 because I'm not comparing him necessarily to overall all 40k dreadnoughts. I'm comparing him to orcs within the units within the orc codex for 120 points or near 120 points that I'd rather have for that cost, and I don't think are a detriment. So for 120 points, would I rather have 10 boys and 10 grots or a death tread? Would I rather have like it's like for 120 points, that's a lot for an orc. And I just don't see him 120 points being even of average value. It's of detrimental value. So I have to lower his value as a cost. So the chat can maybe argue we're both close. You have him low big boss. I have him high lad. So for now, I'll hold him at a high lad for now. But I think you gave good reasons because, like you said, the nuke, and such like that. But even with the nuke point, he would only get to an 11 for me. So he'd still stay at a lad. So I heard you out, but I had him as a 10. I had him at a 10. All right. So then we go. What?
I said, that's fine. I'll let you make that mistake. He's a boss.
No, I don't know, man. Chat, let me know. Chat, just so you know. Do you let us know right now? Because right now, this is why chat's here, right?
Yeah.
There's 50 people in chat live right now. This should be easy. You guys, near the middle end of the video, we'll talk about should we bump up, rearrange some of these gits. But let's keep it going. No problem. That's what you're here for, right? Another informed org player that knows. And we have our preferences. There's units that I'm going to be a little biased for, maybe. Killa Kans. So let's go to Deffkoptas next. All right. So Deffkoptas, I think, was one we got close, but we disagreed. Or maybe agreed, I think, overall. So Deffkoptas, I gave them a 4 for max potential, a 3 for utility, a 3 for detachment flexibility, and a 3 for the point cost. We'll let you go with it because I think these were kind of agreed upon in like their actual ranking. So I gave it a 13 overall. It was sitting in a big boss tier.
So I got a 13 too, but you had me in the first half, right? And then you lost me at the end, right? So got a 4 for max potential.
You had me in the first half. Okay.
So 4 for max, I like it. 3 for utility, I like it, right? I answered a couple of questions. Does it got a decent toughness? Yeah. Can it move quick? Yeah. It's got fly. Okay, we earned a 3. Detachment flexibility, I gave it a 2. It don't really work it doesn't really mix around and take benefits of detachments other than maybe Tactical Brigade and Cult of Speed.
Yeah.
That's it. So, like, you're not flexing a lot. Warhorde, you're getting sustained hits on crappy spinning blades that nobody cares about? Nah, right?
Sorry.
This is my time, right? Because spinning blades can't even take out some poxwalkers. So don't come at me with that, right?
I agree.
So detachment, I gave it a 2. Points-wise, though, 80 points. That's a 4, baby. That's a 4 because 80 points gets you what? T6 gets you 3 wounds, or is it 4 wounds on those guys? 4 wounds, yeah. Gets you 4 wounds. Gets you rockets that are twin.
4 up armor save.
Yeah, bro. Like that's a 4. That's a 4 banger when it comes to points. Okay. Still big boss at a 13. We just saw it differently.
Okay, so I'll say this is also something you didn't mention. The deep strike is not just the fly. It's the deep strike. It's the mortal wounds. It's the grenade keyword. If you're someone that doesn't have Stormboyz or you're filling a list that has just a bunch of stuff that's kind of tough, I think you can still integrate him. That's why he's a flat 3 up in there. But either way, I'll let you have that. He might be a 4, right? Chat can argue on that. The reason why I'll also say maybe points is also a 4, but it doesn't change because he's a 13 right now. So give another point would make him a big boss. He's high-end big boss, which I think is right for the Deffkoptas. If we put him towards war boss, that'd be a little odd. So the discriminant grading between both of us, I think he's still a good big boss category, right? Top of the big boss category. But shout out to the Deffkoptas because I think they're mostly being held up by Cult of Speed because there's something else in Cult of Speed, right? They're like different. They're just like a different data sheet. And this is another one I think we disagreed on, but I think this one we disagreed on that, we'll see what the community says too about this, but it was flash gits. I don't remember if we were different categories or if I just glazed them too hard. I don't remember. But we have flash gits. So I think I went first last time. You can just go ahead with the flash gits.
All right. Well, this is my bay right here. Flash gits. Yeah. I would have loved to give him a better score, right? Yeah. But I just couldn't. I just had to be real, give you guys the facts, right? So first and foremost, max potential, they get a 5. Let's be real. The entire thing that's holding up that score of a 5 is Tactical Brigade, reroll hits, using the lethals. I have killed Demon Princes in Overwatch. I have yodeled out knights with it.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you can play around cover and all your situations are going right, not only can you slap them silly in the shooting phase, whether it's Overwatch or regular, but then you can come in and you can charge and 5 attacks under the Waaagh, AP 1, strength 5, give them sustains or lethals again, right? That is a nice max potential unit. Utility, other side of the coin, they get a 2. What do they do? They can shoot something, they can punch something, right? Like, they're not really doing much else for you. They move 6, T5 idiots. Detachment flexibility, 2. No detachments really do anything for them besides Tactical Brigade and maybe more DACA. Nobody else really wants them around. It just kind of is like, we like having you for fire support here, but nobody's really doing anything for just supporting them. Points-wise, I gave them a 3. Middle of the road. 5 T5, 2 wound idiots, 80 points. Especially now that they fixed the 10 with the 10-point difference that they were doing, which was stupid. I feel like that puts them right into the mid-ground for a total of 12. Big boss category.
Okay, I thought you had him as an 11. Okay, so I misled chat. Sorry. We both have them, the Flash Gitz at Big Boss, but I gave him 14, almost 15. So we have a 5 max potential because, like you said, Tactical Brigade pushes them max potential to a 5. Otherwise they'd be a 4, but we're talking about max potential, including Tactical Brigade. Then we go to utility. I actually gave them a 3, not a 2, because I thought for their size, right, and their points and what their killing is, and their popping and ammo runs, the fact that they fit in the trucks is something I give them flexibility and account for, alongside the detachment flexibility and list. There's plenty of list styles that they'll be like, well, the only gun I can bring or hybrid unit I can bring that has a gun but doesn't push me over to leaning into too heavily of guns for my DACA would be the Flash Gitz. So I still gave him a 3, you know, and then you can end up giving them a I gave him a 4 actually on points. I'm really high on Flash Gitz personally. Maybe I'm biased. I've said this before. I love Flash Gitz last edition for no reason, because they're easily overlooked by the enemy for their point costs when you just kind of go over them. But very rarely do they lose skirmish matchups. Very rarely are they not impactful in a game to some degree and getting good trades out for their similar point costs. The same argument I used against the Deff Dread is what I'm using in favor of the Flash Gitz. For its points equivalent cost, it's hard to discriminate or not want them. When it was just Burner Boys or them for the 60-point, 80-point discriminate value, it was like, man, for my SWAT team, I really, really don't want a Burner Boy instead of a Flash Gitz. Right? It was like that. So I think the point for what it was for the 4 up armor save, 2 wounds of pop on their profile, always having strength 5, always having 4 base attacks. It was like for in the data sheet, they actually have a data sheet ability we like as Ork players.
Yeah.
So it's just a 4. I had to give him a 4. So they had a 14 there at the top of Big Boss for the Flash Gitz. Maybe even arguable by chat to go to Big Boss. I don't mean to War Boss. We'll see about that. But that's kind of how I feel about where they're at. Really good unit. I like a lot for Orks. Then we go to, well, we're going to do the Gork and the Mork, but we're going to start with the Gork. Actually, start with the Let's start with the Mork, because the Mork always gets kind of poo-pooed on.
I actually had the Mork higher.
Okay. So you can go ahead. I'll let you go ahead with it.
Yeah, so Morkanaut, I gave it a 3 on max potential, right? Because, like, alongside the shooting, look at the Gork and Mork both. They got 3s because the melee potential is nasty. Like, they do a lot of damage in combat with a nice strength. As long as you connect into something in melee, like, you can do a decent amount of damage. Then I gave them a 2 in utility because, again, they do got good movement. They've got a good toughness rating, but they've also got a big base. Like, it's blocked up in terrain. So, like, there's negatives and positives there. Gave them a 2 in detachment because, again, here's a trend. More DACA and Dread Mob are like the only things that want them. And then I gave them a 2 for points because, like, same problem that Orks Walkers have. We pay a lot of points for not a lot of fucking flavor. We overpay while Knights players out here get everything they want and hit on twos, rerolling ones, right? It's great. So that gives me, for us, Morkanaut, I got him at a 9, sitting in lads.
Okay. And what's your Gork score, though? Let's just go there.
8.
Forget it. You already kind of alluded to it enough.
Gorkanaut, I have it an 8 because for the detachments, I gave him a 1.
Okay.
Because like even in the I gave him a 1 in detachments because at least the Morkanaut, right? Maybe not crazy. The Morkanaut's the shooting one. At least in more DACA and in Dread Mob, you want to shoot, and so it benefits the shooting. Yeah. But like, who's gonna take the fucking Gorkanaut? Like Warhorde? Warhorde doesn't even want the fucking Gorkanaut. Yeah. Get him out of here. Like,
weird people did take him in Warhorde. You're right. It is weird, and they made it work. I actually had them both at a 9, and I liked your reasoning. But let's see if we can hear me out here, chat. So I've had some real anecdotal games where my Gorkanaut shooting does really go off in Dread Mob, but it's usually like into like demon matches, specifically stuff that has like 4-up armor saves, or you know, that you could just get a bunch of volume put on them with reroll hits and stuff and sustain. And then I've had like no real moments like that with my Morkanaut. So it's like its max potential to me just lives on paper, because it's like even then it's you're doing max potential like I hope I just completely roll all 6s and enemy fail saves. Like it's so silly. Like it's not even like a real. It's not a real like argument value. So I almost want to give the Mork a 2, but I'm a Mork hater for its max potential. Yeah, in the utility aspect, you know, I give them both 2s, like you said, for transport and such. There's almost an argument that the Mork has better utility because it has a built-in 5-up invul. And that also goes for the detachment flexibility, like you said. Gork would get a 1 and the Mork would get a 2 because, like, my shout out to Mark Perry, Psycho, right? Crazy get where he's like, tactical brigade, Morkanaut makes sense. I'm like, what the? Where are you coming? What? No, it doesn't. He's like, it does. I swear. He's fantastic. I love him. But what I understood his argument there is like it has an invul. It's different. It's kind of serving like a different, similar role of the battle wagon where I'm staging in the middle. I'm attempting you to come get me, and I'm taking decent saves with a lot of wounds. So it does have a flexibility higher than the Gorkanaut. And then the points, they both get a 2. So overall, actually, I'm both at a 9 only because I was a hater on the Mork and I gave him a 2 for max potential. So I'm a hater. So let's just put them both at lads. But it was a funny positioning at lads. And yeah, forget Burner Boys. I'm not. Go back there, Burner Boys. Let's move on to the ones that everybody's so familiar with. Let's see where we got them Gitz, where we have them run sap.
Let's do grots, baby.
We're doing the Gretchen. And actually, can I say something here? Because chat's doing a good job. I'm trying to be reasonable with everybody's time, so I'm not trying not to get through. But someone made a good point in chat about the flash Gitz as well, was essentially that for the 80-point mark, which a lot of orcs are, units are at that 80-point mark, it almost always comes down to boys or flash kits at that 80-point mark that are fighting for that contentious spot. So it's like, okay, that's a good point for the flash kits. Like when it comes down to it in your list building, you almost always can fit them guys in there. But we'll clean it up at the end because who knows? Maybe they go up 1. And maybe some of the units I argue with go down. But we're going to the grots. So the Gretchen. For Gretchen, max potential, I got him at a 2. That's because I am not including Makari. I am not including Zagrat's unit because Zagrat unit himself and the Gretchen with him, the super runs, are identified with him based off his data sheet. So this is like the
But that's what brings him to a 2. Otherwise, it'd be a 1.
This is just the Gretchen. Yeah, for me, it's still 2. But you could say that brings them a 1. That's fine. But I'm identifying right now as Gretchen on their own. Even max potential wise, that's Zagrat's thing for their max potential. And such. So you can give them a 2 for that, like you said, because otherwise their max potential is a 1 because they can't kill anything. They just take space and score. So that's your utility score of a 3. For, as we mentioned, they're really good screeners, taking out space, their body count, giving you CP, swinging points. There's almost no time you wouldn't bring Gretchen on your list as like the utility of just existing. So they get a flat 3. Then for detachment flexibility and for points, they get straight 5s. So they score just 5 for being the best at both of those categories. For an overall score of a 15 for a war boss category, could be even rated even higher. Nonetheless, Gretchen are at least war boss. You know, it's funny because chat's like, we want them to be war chief category. They're an S tier unit. You know, well, that's funny. We'll talk about that. But I think they're at least the war boss unit. You have something to say about that?
I mean, number one, it can't be war chief because we are using a bipartisan ranking system that actually puts them into repeatable categories, right? I know we all love grots. Grots do awesome things. But realistically, like a 2 is going to be your max potential for killing because only Dirty Mike allows, Zodgrot, sorry, for my nickname is Dirty Mike because he looks like a homeless guy, right? They're the only things that's going to drive them to kill. Utility, like, there's not a lot of utility you're getting from movement 6, like toughness 2 idiots, right? But for what they can do and the small footprint, the shenanigans you can do with walls, with tagging, there's some utility there, which puts them up to a 3. Some could be say like Zodgrot, if they could move 12 all the time, you'd bump them to a 5 in utility and call yourself Eldar, right? Like, but facts is facts, like they move 6. But yeah, for detachment flexibility and points, 5s all day. Like they have the best points number and they work in every single detachment. Find me a list that doesn't have a set of grots in there, and I'll probably find you Jesus, I don't know, an 0 and 5 list because you take grots.
Yeah, you're always going to take grots, but I'm not sure if that makes them S tier. I guess that could be an argument in the chats or near the end of the video, so let us know. Because you take one grot unit in every list mean that they're an S tier unit? Is that what that automatically means? I'm not sure. So next we're going to go up to boys, but you know what else? If you don't grots, you don't got. If you don't have a pair of Waaagh Taktiks, Baron of Dice. So today, shout out to today's sponsor, the Baron of Dice, as they have high quality custom dice. So shout out to them, Waaagh Taktiks. Guys, check them out in the description for 5% off because no one likes taxes. So if we do a good job and you support us, thanks a lot for that. Shout out to Baron of Dice. So we had to give some love to the sponsors, like to get that in quick since you reminded
me. Baron of Dice does our team dice, and they roll a lot of 6s. So
that's true. They roll Waaagh Taktiks. They roll a lot of 6s too. So speaking of who needs a lot of 6s, we got the boys. Let's go. So I got a lot of love for boys. I went first on the run still and the grots though. So you go first with the boys.
All right. So boys, max potential. They are the only orc unit that I'm giving a 5. They get a 5 on max potential because anybody who's seen what a full squad, a 20 boys led by Gaz, right? With a you don't even need the war boss attached to them. You put a pain. I don't care what you put with them. You put anybody with them, a big mech, right? So that way nobody can screen you. But the amount of attacks that come through, getting lethals, crits and getting sustains and lethals on 5s, getting +1 to hit and +1 to wound, it is disgusting. You will literally kill anything that you have in front of you with a bunch of 1 damage. And like, you know what's great about 1 damage? It can't be halved. It can't be -1. Like, it just is what it is. And you just throw so many dice that you just tactical nuke anything in front of you. Utility, I gave them a 4. Why? Yes, they are little moving idiots that normally puts them at a 3. They got sticky. Sticky gives you a 4. Anytime you got sticky, that's a good play. Detachment flexibility, I gave them a 4 because the majority of our detachments that we have do something nice for boys. Boys fit in there fairly decently with most attachments. And then for points, I gave them a 3. They would have been a 4, but they nerfed them on the points. That sucked a little bit, so they kind of just fell in line for a total of 16 in the War Boss category.
All right, so I have them as a 5, a 4, 4, and then also a 3, but arguably a 4 for the points category. I was having a hard time with that. So for max potential, it's not only the punching power from Gaz from their killing, but remember the 20-man unit of boys acts as a tar pit, OC Brit bomb in the middle of the unit that can just the middle of the battlefield that can sometimes just outlast the enemy to win games on primary and swing the points enough, push the enemy back into their own deployment zone. It's about the space that it takes up, how much stuff it can tag, people manipulating the movement potential of charging, pile-ins, consolidations. So it's also the ability of a mob of boys to move around the field, unlike maybe just like an elite unit of Breaka Boys that we did earlier, right? And unit of Breaka Boys can punch up really, really hard too with a war boss, or maybe you want to say Gaz. But the boys themselves also win the game by scoring points and taking up the position on the field. That's also why I gave him a 5 on the max potential. Utility, I still gave him a 4 because you can play boys as the smallest 10-man unit with nothing added onto them in a detachment that gives them no benefits like cult of speed. You could definitely still find a use for 10 boys and just put them on the list. So that's like a 4, pretty nice right there. Detachment flexibility as well, because of the same thing we mentioned earlier. The actual datasheet rule for sticky is almost like a universal thing for just how orcs are identified, that they play the game, outlasting the enemy, moving forward, trading bodies for points. So being able to sticky something helps as well. And then for point value, that's where I was like close, right? If it's across all of 40K, it's like, man, for 80 points, almost no one can argue for a boys. But then it's also like, well, I'm doing an internal thing for 80 points. What am I arguing up against? It's close, right? It's, well, you get the War Boss and Mega Armor, he's 80 points. Deff Killer War Trike, he's 80 points. Flash Gitz, 80 points. Like, it starts a lot of different units that are getting really close at that. What is Shock Attack gun now 80 points too now?
Yeah.
I feel like he got, yeah. Well, it's like 80 points. It's like, man, really close there. But still, for that point cost, you can want to consider them. Either way, they end up in the War Boss category with either a 16 or a 17. Almost making it to War Chief category, but I'm not sure yet, right? And I see the chat right now talking about grot, so I love to see that because they're making arguments for grots right now. We're gonna have to go back and revisit them. Don't worry, Gitz. I'm hearing you out. This is why we have a criteria, because now the chat's using like, hold on, your own criteria, sir. And I'm like, oh, that's why I like it. So let's move on also to the Beast Snagga Boys, as we're talking about battle line, we're talking about boys. I think you gave him a little lower score than I did, and actually put him in a lower category. Is that true?
Oh yeah, I put him in lads, and I'm ready to fight.
Then yeah, then we're this is one I remember correctly. I do not have him as lads. So chat, get him. No, I'm just kidding. No, okay. So so for max potential on the boys, I got him at a nice clean 4. This is where I'm talking about where I've had him in tactical +1 strength, kill rig, giving him +1 strength, having him innately maybe get lethal somewhere on the battlefield, re-rolling it, popping off, surviving combat and shooting or something like that because they're invulns and they're feeling no pains and just enduring just a little longer. So I enjoy them for that. Utility, I gave him a 3, just because they end up on a lot of different kind of lists, similar to a boy but not the same for what you get, and they also don't have access to grenade keyword, so you can't give them the same as a boy. Then you have the detachment flexibility. I actually think that Beast Snagga Boss and Beast Snagga Boys and that whole trifecta combo archetype actually can be played on multiple different lists. Different detachments. People will run rigs, snaggas, beast bosses, all compact into one style all together. People will take Beast Snagga Boys and beast bosses and trucks and put them on lists, and they'll put them as filler, right? Maybe not at top tier level play all the time, but as for filling out your lists as an orc player, if you're like an intermediate collector and you have some of the Battle Force boxes, Battle Force boxes, you can make do with a beast boss and Beast Snagga Boys for their flexibility there. So I still gave him a 3. And then for the point cost, I gave him a 3 also. They're almost overcosted though. So I'm interested in hearing that. So I still got them at 13. So even if I'm off on one of those points, they'd still say big boss for me. But go ahead with you, ya lad.
Yeah, so they're lads. All right. And I've been watching a lot of Suits lately, so I'm about to hit you with that argument, right?
Not the television lawyers. Oh no. How will I endure this onslaught?
Max potential, I agree with you on a 4. I got him on a 4 too. The only things that hit 5s in my category was, could it nuke Morty in a turn? If you can't do it, you ain't getting a 5, right? But Beast Snagga Boys, they get in a 4. Utility, I gave him a 3. Same just as you. I gave them utility on their survivability with the feel no pain, right? And now where we completely disagree, detachment and points. Detachment, I gave them a 2. I'm going to tell you why. There's only 2 detachments that really like Beast Snagga Boys.
Warhorde
right?
and Tactical Brigade.
Not even Tactical Brigade. Like, I play Tactical, get them out of here. The only 2 detachments that really like Beast Snagga Boys are Warhorde and the fucking Hunt, bro. The Hunt is the only 2, right? I love the Hunt. I took the Hunt to fucking battle to end Alzheimer. I love him, right?
Yep.
Now, what you got confused by people pay the Beast Snagga Boys tax to get the Beast Snagga boss.
Yeah.
We're talking about the Snagga Boys.
Yeah.
If the boss didn't need to lead the Snagga Boys to get the benefits, you wouldn't give a shit about them, right? You would leave them on the shelf. I love the Battle Force box. I totally think that Beast Snagga Boys with the Beast boss can be in everybody's army, and you will immediately see benefit from it. But we're talking Beast Snagga Boys. Detachments don't care about them other than those 2. You get a 2. Their points value, with the increase that there are, if they would have had sticky like boys, I would justify it. But as expensive as they are to take as a tax for the Beast Snagga boss and not even get sticky like the regular boys do, get them out of here. There are 2. That's lads. That's lads making right there.
And then for points.
Yeah, for points, I had him at a 2, so the total is an 11.
Okay. You have him as a 2 because you think because Battle Line Boys are so similar for the 15-point differential, it's not worth paying that difference of 15 points for the couple niche
95 points
you get.
That's crazy. 95 points, you don't get sticky. You get a bunch of, T5 idiots with 1 wound that have a 6-up feel no pain. Oh, watch out.
Power Snapper has 1 less AP. Then it's 1 less strength.
And a Power Claw. Yeah, dude. Like, you paying way too much, and it's literally just because they are the tax to take the Beast boss, the Beast Snag, the Beast boss on foot.
I think the difference is I'll grant you the 1 point. Chat, I'm hearing him. See, I'm reasonable right now in this tier list. I'll give him -1 to my score to give him still a 12 because I'm not willing to give rid of the flexibility and list attachment, because I think that even if you're an intermediate player and you're going, I want to play Tactical Brigade, and you don't bring a Beast boss, there's a slight argument that you'll bring them in different detachments for that, because you can still get access to lethal or sustain, re-rolling, give them orders for additional strength. It's just the point cost is what's bringing that down a little bit. But as for like their synergy into another detachment as well, it's still Tactical Brigade. It's just how you play out Tactical Brigade right now doesn't allow them to be put in for the point cost without the Beast boss, because you need the diversity and hybrid, utility of them. But I still count them because you do count the Beast boss to a degree. But I agree with you on like them on themselves coming down. They feel like a tax. So I'll still bring them down, but I'm gonna put them low, big boss tier. But we'll let chat argue with us about it, right? Because people might argue the Death Dread, people might argue this, they might argue the Flash Gitz. There's a lot of stuff here we can discuss. Shout out to channel member ECOP for 5 Waaagh Taktiks memberships. Whoa to that. So if you got a channel membership, be sure to shout out ECOP and get some war bosses in chat, Gaz's in chat, use them emojis. And of course, all the channel members are paying attention to your chat specifically, so you got good arguments. We're paying attention to the highlights because there are a lot of them. So, those catch my attention. But if you're not a channel member, I'm still hearing you out. Don't worry, you're still out there. It's just obviously we see channel members first. So thank you very much, ECOP, all the time for the support. Love you, Git. As always, it's very humbling and very exciting. And we have people already, like I said, getting excited. So who would be up next for this one? Let's see. Let's go with since we were just talking about Snagga theme and stuff, let's go with the kill rig. Let's go with the kill rig. Here's the kill rig. Bam. And I'll let you go first because I think I went first with the Snaggas.
Yeah. Okay, so kill rig. Now, before everybody puts their pitchforks out against me, all right, I'm one of the OG defenders of the kill rig. However, it's a lads for me, right? It's a 3 on max potential, right? Fairly average, right? It's not like you can attach a character to it and buff it up to 11, right? It's not really any strats for it that'll really beef it up. Utility, I gave it a 3 because how many firing deck, transport, high toughness, decent move units you got, right? It's pretty good. Detachment, I gave it a 2 because, again, there's not really many detachments who increase its efficiency, right? They'll accept it in there, but it's not really any attachments that are bringing, ooh, I'm bringing a kill rig to this detachment. And then points, I gave it a 3. I could be argued into a 4 because I do think that what you get for the points and everything that it does, it is pretty good. If you go to a 4, I think that brings it up because it takes it from an 11 to a 12.
Yeah.
But I had a hard time bringing it to a 12 on my own.
So max potential you had it at 3. Utility you had it at a 3.
Yep.
Really big. And then the detachment list flexibility. I think it's because I'm really adamant or sure that the archetype or the foundation of triple kill rigs actually does kind of push into random stuff, but it is really niche. So I don't like to base my positions off a niche thing. So I have max potential 3, utility at 3, detachment flexibility is actually at 3. I think you had him at a 2. Did you have him at a 2?
I had him at a 2.
And then for points, you had him at a 3. So I had him at 12 barely. And I think it's because I still think it's something about how his points and his utility synergize that keep his detachment flexibility at a 3. I feel like I couldn't drop him below that just because what he does, but it does require other stuff around it. So it's almost like I'm down to bring him down 1. I'm down to bring him to a lad because without Snaggas or beast bosses, you really don't want to bring him anyways. But at the same time, which means, is he that much utility? Is he that flexible? Not like a battle wagon. So he has to be, at the higher end of the lower tier than a battle wagon if the battle wagon's kind of up here, right? Which might end up being the case for Snagga Boys. Who knows? We'll see. We'll talk through it more. I'm subject to being in close on this, but I do like the kill rig a lot, right? Shout out to the debate we did with Happy Crumper, right? Where I was advocated for him to be mid, because
he's not bottom of the barrel, he is mid, right?
He's mid.
You compare the battle wagon, right? Battle wagon gets you good transport, right?
Kind of, because like I said, they're not the same, but you're
nowhere near the same.
When it's coming to, the overall looking at it from all aspects where it's graded, still ends up 1 point less than a wagon, in my opinion. Overall,
and it's a monster now,
which drops him down. And I think the monster thing bothered me a little bit. I like the tank shot capability to help finish stuff off with him.
But now it can heroic, bro.
That's because you're playing the hunt. That's because the hunt. So I understand that. And that's something we talked about. It's like, okay, for that's kind of nice, but that's more nuanced than I run into you and do mortals, right? My orc brain is I can I just like that more. So thank you. So kill rigs gonna stay at an 11 for now. Maybe a 12, maybe a low boss tier, but I think it's good right there. Then we're gonna go to his forgotten, weird, odd, deformed, leftover prototype, the hunter rig.
You take this one.
I'll take this one. Oh, thank you. What a grand gesture. So for the hunter rig, I give him a 2 on max potential. Almost want to give him a 1 just because I'm like, what are you even doing, bro? You're just kind of like here. Then a 2 for utility because his data sheet ability is lame. And I don't like it. And even his like hook to plug into you is like, hey, I gotta try to hit you with this really inaccurate get. A 1 on detachment flexibility, and then I gave him a 3 on points. So I know it could have been I think 4 was the argument there. So he could have been brought up to a 9, but he still sits at bottom low lads for me. Where do you have him at?
So I have him at a 9 at a lads, all the same except for points. Because like realistically, with his toughness, with the attacks, being a transport that gets attacks buffed by its transport capacity, it's actually in a good movement. It's good value for its points. So like if I'm being subjective and looking at what is the points and what is its value, what are you getting for those points?
Yeah. And then the reason why I want to grant that is because I'm internal critiquing and I'm looking at it versus like a Deff tread, and it's like durability, ability to survive and stuff. It doesn't have that false, idea that it could endure something. You know, a Death Tread is false in that case. A Hunter Rig, due to points, does have, look, it's here to Matt. I don't care, I'm using that. The Hunter Rig does, because of how cheap it is, at least require that much, attacking to be taken in. So I think the Hunter should be like maybe low lads, like the bottom end of lads is where I have them.
Yep.
Like I said, I wanted to give them like a freaking 8 or a 7. Like I feel like chat wants to throw them in runs almost, but I have them already at the bottom. That's okay. Okay, now here's where my bias will shine, guys. Hello, welcome to Killa Kans. So I'll let you go first because you might have a more grounded category in me, but let's go Killa Kans here for you. Speaking of Killa Kans, we have Arcane Asylum for the Grot Revolution. They are War Chief. Whoa! I had to save that for the Cans one. So thank you very much. $5 for that, Arcane, for the support. Love you get. And yeah, we have the Grot love going on here. So let's let the glazing begin of the Kill Cans. Because you'll only see it here on Waaagh Taktiks and never again. All right, go ahead.
I love Arcane, but I don't love what I'm about to dish out to these Killa Kans here real quick. So, and this is coming from somebody who has 18 of them. I have 18 of them sitting in a drawer. I love them. They are lads. They're at 10 points right now, right? Max potential, I gave them a 3 because 6 cans can only do so much, right? Whether it's like if you're dishing them out with rockets, you're dishing out with scorches, which scorches are not a play for me because you're hitting on 4s, maximize on it, right? In their melee, unlike regular power claws that we have on vehicles, instead of being like a strength 12, they're actually only like what, a 9? They get plus
8.
3
8
to the strength, right? 8. So like, okay. Utility, I gave them a 2. Where they do get benefits for a higher speed than 6, and for having more wounds than a regular 1-wound idiot. Their leadership makes them really hard to trust for any kind of utility. So they're at a 2. Detachment, I feel like everyone that lands on me, I'm going to be saying the same thing over again. There is really only 2 detachments that like them, which is Dread Mob and Mordaka. And for points, that is where they got a little bit of the bump. They got a 3 for points because they are a decent amount for what they do, giving some fire support. That's got a okay toughness considering because the amount of wounds, and like being kind of detachment ambidextrous, right? You don't have to have a detachment for them to be a mobile firing deck for that points that they are. That bumped them and saved them to a 3. So that's a 10 total for lads.
Okay, so we're close. We're close. And I think we got the same category, honestly, but I gave him a 4 for max potential. Because I'm talking about Dread Mob, where they get reroll entire hits, they get access to +2 strength, +1 damage. So you stack that on the wall, so then they can get strength 11. Then you can also give them assault, and it comes with a reroll advance. So then you're re-rolling the hit roll and shooting with lethal or sustain. You could pop big shells for bigger gits. So then you're +1 to wound and +1 damage on those rockets. You can then get into combat, pop clink and claws. And you can also, I'll do that on the wall and deliver this 250 point unit. All of it's 3 or 4 damage. It's indiscriminate. It can give damage to hordes, it could give damage to elite infantry, it can give damage to enemy vehicles. It's indiscriminate. It doesn't go to a 5 because it has some things that it can't go into because of like armor saves, armor of contempt, and such like that. Also, obviously glazing, as I mentioned, I will be doing. So then we go into
Guo. That's like
2. I'm glazed it up, dude. No, it's getting a 4. Then we go to utility still 2. The fact that they're such crappy leadership has literally drowned me in Tyranid games before, where I'm like, no, I can't do anything I just said from max potential. So then we go to the detachment flexibility. It's funny because you would think that, well, Waaagh Taktiks, if your criteria is low, giving a low score for some of these criteria across multiple org data sheets, maybe you didn't think this out. Maybe they don't apply to the org unit. No, maybe it does apply to the orc unit, and it's outlining something that's severely lacking in our orc, codex or the diversity of data sheets and stuff like that. So I'm still giving them a low score because of that flexibility, even though it sounds redundant that we keep saying it. Well, that's also been something the community said consistently, that is the annoyance and problem with the codex, is that when you look at a data sheet, you're like, oh, you want me to play just these 2 detachments. Oh, but they suck there. I'm gonna give some Trukk, so I think even though we're both repeating it, it's due with what's reflecting on what the general community also feels like as well. So they get a 2 for list, and then a 3 for points. I think they're fair. They're fair. I'll just say that. For the amount of wounds, they get a good armor save. If it was a 4, it would get on my nerves, a 4-up armor save, but I'm glad that it's a 3. They just need to move a little faster, and I really like if they're a T7. Maybe that's crazy, but if Buggies are T7, I want Grot to be T7 for some reason. Killa Kans. So we're doing 11 anyways at the top of top of lads right here, but then it's like Killa Kans or Kill Rigs or whatever. Either way, you had them in the same category. But I put them again in front of Deff Dreads because that's how I personally feel. I still think they're better than Deff Dreads.
I'd take a Deff Dread over.
I'm being biased. Yeah, I'm totally being biased. Yeah, this is me just right now putting this. But chat, let me know. Then we move on to next. Ooh, this is a good one. This is something that's been out that's been shaking everybody up, getting everybody real excited. We have the Commandos. It's time to get tactical, get Gitz. So they can now combat squad. They can split into 2 units, be little 60.5 man units of Gitz. So for the Mandos, I got a 3 on max potential. I think that they can actually punch up once in a while. Their little profiles they have on there. Detachments, you might give them orders, you might give them strats offensively that they can win some fights in. But really, it's just about the fact that their special weapons are a little unique and their data sheet abilities are unique for their max potential. So they might endure, survive a little bit, run up, throw bomb squig on you, throw a grenade on you weirdly, and then kind of like tar pit a unit. They've done that for me. They've done weird things where they kind of stand out, where they do just enough damage and survive just long enough in the max potential wise. So that's kind of like how I look at their max potential in like the diverse way. Then their utility is either a 4 or 5. You almost want to say a 5 now, just because of the fact that they get to infiltrate. In some cases they can be redeployed in tactical brigade, right? So then it's like their utility could be even more interesting. We have 2 units for that, for stealing infiltration spots or move blocking. They can't be overwatched, which is kind of cool for that. It's close. I'll give them a 4 for now, but it's arguable that they may be a 5. Maybe it is a 5. Then for detachment flexibility, again, list flexibility, detachment flexibility, I actually have them a 4. I don't think every list has to bring them, but because they're like one of our only true infiltrators, right? We have Snickrot, but we rated Snickrot quite highly, and I think you agreed with the rating last time as well. The Snickrot was Warboss category. A lot of that was riding on his utility, his diverse rules, his, and Mandos are kind of similar in that way. Diverse rules, utility, infiltration. It's specific to them, so they get a 4 there. And then for points, I'm gonna give them a 3, but you could almost argue a 4 because now you can split them into 2 60-point units, and they don't feel like a tax in that way anymore. But then it's like, well, burner boys are them. It's like, it's whatever. That sounds about the same. So still give them a 3. So I have them at a 15 currently. That's with the 5 points for utility. But let's hear what you got. I have a low war boss tier. What do you got for the Mandos?
So the only thing I want to do lead in, when we get to the Commandos, I just want to put one thing from the characters pot. I do agree with what you guys said about Snickrot, but I did not like what you guys did to my poor man, the weird boy, and what you besmirched his name, because the jump is better than Snickrot's ability, because Snickrot's ability does happen, but it only happens once. Weird boy, I played with him many games and been able to cleanse and then turn around and do behind enemy lines and then turn around and go somewhere else, right? So being able to do it every turn. Now, for Commandos, I actually have them at a 13, big boss. Didn't go as high as you did. Because max potential, I gave them a 2. They're not really killing much. At their best is Tactical Brigade, and you're attaching a war boss onto them just so they can have +1 to hit. Because otherwise, they're hitting on 4s with their only AP2 2-damage weapons. You don't take them to kill anything. They're not really doing a good job at it. Utility, I gave them a 4. The only thing stopping them for me for getting the coveted 5 is their move characteristic. They had a faster move characteristic, then you get the holy mecha 5 score for all that you do. Detachment, I gave them a 4, just like you did. I agree with everything you said. Points, I gave them a 3. Again, agree with everything that you said. Now that they can split, that is the only thing saving them from being overcosted.
Yeah, when I was speaking of the damage, it wasn't only from combat. It was the mortal wounds that I'm talking about from them. And since they'll infiltrate, they're kind of easy to get off on that and to other units that they want to get off on. And I still think in combat squads, they can do the same thing. So like the 60-point unit of Mandos with war gear can run up and punch up some scouts and trade out with them while the other 5 trash go do something else. So I still give them a 3 on that. And I think for the Ork Codex itself, internally, I still have to give them a 5 on utility. Just at the moment because of the combat squatting, the infiltrating, the denying Overwatch to get in weird places and move block people. When you actually get in the games where you can move block finally with your Mandos, you just find, oh man, I'm going to just stand in this firing lane. So this Land Raider, this Tau unit, this Lehman Russ cannot get in this firing lane on my truck that I'm staging. That's a utility that can't be accounted for with a number, just once you play the game. Not that I don't think you're taking that into account. I think you're taking that into account. I'm just saying that
the only thing that I take into account differently than you is I'm not comparing against the Ork Codex. I'm comparing against the 40K game. I don't think that we have a unit that gives us a 5 for utility. I don't think it exists in our Codex.
Okay. I guess we'll see with chat. I'm gonna keep them at low war boss here because I'm glazing, but we might drop them as we move stuff through, and I want to move some stuff out of the middle. And I still feel a little bit for 5 war boss. Don't know if I'm sold on those positions yet. Just because, like I said, it's almost a little I guess abstract. You can think about how you're using the Mandos, like how they impact the game, where you don't really consider it until after the game, because it happens so early that they're impactful. But it could be that we're just super excited about the new rules, or I am, right? So could be that. Could be overvaluing them. But we go to something next would be the Lootas. So I'll let you go with the Lootas because I know you like Lootas. No, I'm just kidding. I just made that up.
I do like Lootas, man. I do like them.
I think they're cool, but I don't know if anybody loves Lootas. Whose favorite unit is Lootas? Shout out to Colin, channel member Colin, my Git, the only person who loves cans and Lootas like the rest of us, as much as us. I mean, so what do you got for Lootas?
All right, so for Lootas, I have max potential at a 4 because anybody who's played Dread Mob, like an all infantry list Dread Mob, and put a shock attack gun on it. Lootas with max potential getting led by a shock attack gun is a hell of a drug. Getting rerolls on objectives.
Woo! Sorry.
It's a hell of a drug. Utility, I gave them a 1 because their datasheet wants you to stand in one spot and never move.
Yes.
So you actually get hurt by moving, which in 40K is a game about movement. You're doing the opposite for what the unit wants you to do. Detachment, I gave it a 2. Damn you for doing this to me. Again, there's only 2 detachments who really want them.
I didn't do this to you. GW did this to you. GW did this to all of us.
Is Dread Mob and Mordaka. I'm going to get a sign that says Dread Mob and Mordaka, somewhere over here.
Yeah, you deserve it.
And then lastly, for points, I gave them a 4, actually. Because at 50 points for those idiots, now that they fixed it, that's not bad. 50 points is not bad to get a custom Mega Blaster re-rolling on objectives. Let's be real. The price is right. Giving him an 11 for a lads.
Yeah. I think they're good there. Shout out to the Legend Smith. Don't worry, Git, I got you. So, because he loves my cans too. I think I got Lootas with a 4 on max potential for what you stated. Shock attack gun, hell of a drug, re-rolling, haha, I bypass your defensive abilities because I'm shooting on Overwatch, and it's like my shooting phase because I'm an orc. One on utility as well. People make the argument for coming off the battlefield edge and like acting as a little chaff unit. If I have to conditionally play you only when you're looking at a unit on an objective for the most vast majority of the time I'm playing you, it's kind of annoying and really situational to use you. Of course, there's tactical brigade argument where you give this unit +1 to hit. Still not that impressive with its math unless it's looking at an objective. Because now you're just hitting on like an orc, and that's not anything to be proud of. Then we have the detachment flexibility. I gave him a 3. Would you give him a 2 or a 3?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think because I counted for tactical brigade a little bit, but in reality, it's mostly I'm just seeing them in like a more Daka and a dread mob, like you said. So there could be an argument that they're a 2, but I feel like I got to give them a 3 because it's list flexibility and how much they impact an archetype. So like for running dread mob, they're super important, right? They're super important. Like when we were talking about green tide and such. For more Daka, they're quite important when you're filling out those lists and looking at units that can actually take advantage of those abilities and have cheap point cost. So I'm keeping them at a 3. And then for points, I'm giving them a 4, barely. So that would give them an 11 for top lads, or possibly a 12 for big boss. Where'd you have them at lads?
I had an 11 at lads. I think lads is the right play. They're not big boss material.
Man, you almost want to for their point cost now that they got fixed. Because I'm like, for 50 points, you almost want to. Because what else are you getting at? Like, it has an actual gun. You know, for that many point costs, even across all of 40K. So it's arguable. We'll talk about it near the end. This could get bumped, right? But right now we're keeping them. I think they are above these 2 units, though. I think it's easily. I think it's above kill rigs and cans. Then we get to, let's see. I think I have the Mega Nobz left. Where are we? Mega Nobz. We're Mega Nobz. Boop. Now we have Mega Nobz up for debate. So for my Mega Nobz, I have their max potentials actually at a 4. I actually have them on a 4. Am I glazing? Maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. I'm also trying not to give all the love to like Breaka Boys that what the role is of they could at least do some damage to great armor value. The reason is they're like the only unit with 3 AP in combat and it's something to be taken serious. Their wounding potential with that 3 AP is amazing. Like the fact that they can wound most things very, very reliably. It's just the amount of punches they get is so low tier trash that it hurts you. You know that it hurts you. So that's kind of its thing. It could be argued it could be a 3. Utility we get a 2, just because they just do what they do. Also, when I did grade their max potential, though, I gave them a defensive number as well, because I do think like a Pain Wall archetype, or when people kind of sit on the big mech and mega armor with custom force field and bully boys, I think that's actually like a real point of his max potential, where with armor of contempt from shooting, standing on that 4-up invuln, they can, in the 5-up feel no pain, they can withstand a lot of damage from the enemies. So, and that's why also I gave him a 4. I included all of that for what they're doing. Then we have, and like I said, utility was a 2. Then detachment flexibility, I actually gave him 3. I think one unit can find his way on a variety of lists and such. And then for points, I gave him a 3 as well. Now, mind you, this is an internal critique for orcs, right? So I know when you're looking at their max potential, you're comparing to other Terminators possibly that are better across 40K. But I'm talking about for what we look at as an elite unit, elite infantry for our book internally and how it performs at that role, it does an all right job of getting at least a 12 across the board as being a low big boss tier is how I feel.
That's exactly where I got it, right? We see the same, except I gave him 3s across the board.
Okay.
What you factored in for max potential, I factored in for utility, because there is utility
That's fine.
to just being idiots who sit on an objective and say, move me.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that matters for some builds and lists. I think having that will actually matter. Having one, just these guys can stand here and regen and stuff. So yeah, I give them low big boss tier. I think they can come down in points a little more. No? But they feel decent. They feel decent. I don't hate my Mega Nobz at all. They just never really stand out because we like volume as Orks, and they're just not doing volume right now.
Man, they
Let's
did
see,
them
who do
dirty
we got left? We got all the buggies and all the stuff. Let's do Mech Gun for fun. Mech Gun it doesn't get no love.
It's still not gonna get love.
It's not gonna get no love. Dude, man, if you guys don't know, if you weren't here, there was before Tankbustas came out. I was squeezing my Mech Gun so hard trying to get them to work as like an anti-tank profile. So trust me, I ran them through the gauntlet. I definitely actually used them. I wanted them to be real, but they were not. So I give them a 3 for max potential. I think you maybe gave them a 4.
I gave them a 3.
Okay. So I understand, guys, like, well, if they all have the tractor cannon that does that wounds to Morty, where the spike and damage, that's not real like that, because then it's like 1 unit like potential and it still only gives it a 3. It's too niche. And they did change the bubble chukka, so at least it's more realistic to use. But still, because it's only 3 orc profiles that are shooting, and then its data sheet excludes the things you kind of want to shoot it at, like vehicles and monsters. You're like, no, I want that data sheet ability for that. Doesn't give you that. Still only gets a 3 for that. He gets a 1 for utility because super slow. It's like where I put you is where I put you. It's almost a detriment because you're in my way. So you're getting a 1. Then you're also getting a 1 for detachment flexibility. You could argue you could be in Dread Mob where I was taking him. You could argue you could put flex characters in there and such, but then it just ends up making the unit cost too much and it's too squishy and still really hard to get in line of sight. So it's still only a 1 because now it's anti-synergistic to the rest of the Dread Mob list, where now you're in the way of the other Dread Mob units. So even though I like it overall, like I want to in Dread Mob because of what it can do, it's too just unruly. And then for points, I give it a 2 because I think for 50 points for 1 model, it's still not even good, dude. You can make it 40. I still might not even consider it. It has to be like 35 points, like for real, to be considered. But yeah, other than that, I got him at a 7. So he almost fell into a runt category. Where do you have
we're the same. 3 1 1 2 3 1 1 2 for a 7. We got him at the exact same spot.
So could we drop him 1? Do we want to make him a run because we're being spiteful?
I mean, we did all this work with the criteria. There's no way I'm putting the mech guns in the same place as the what are the runs going to?
The boss bunker.
I think only the boss bunker and the Waz bomb blasted jet need to live there.
Well, for characters, we had the word boy,
and
the pain boss.
Yeah, that's right where they belonged. And I think the bottom. I don't think mech guns belong in the bottom because you can strat reserve them. They're 50.
Yeah, they could actually kill you. They can. The other guys can't do it. Literally can't do anything. So
Waz bomb literally waits a turn.
I just had to ask, dude. We just had to ask. We had to ask to at least be like, do they extra suck? Like, I don't know. Let's go to something that doesn't suck. The Nobz. Let's go.
Oh, let's go.
All right. So for the Nobz, I'll let you go first with this one. I think I went first already twice on this.
Oh my god, this feels so good that I don't have to say Mordaka and Dread Mob again. So, Nobz, all right. Here we go. So, max potential, they get a 5 because they passed the Morty test. You drop them with Gaz, 10 Nobz, and put them in Warhorde. You don't even have to put them in Warhorde. You can put them in Tactical because you can get sustained there too.
Yeah.
And those jokers will yodel out and just fucking put Morty in a wheelchair and send him home. That's what you want, right? So they get a 5. Utility, I gave him a 2 because realistically, like, you're wasting your points if you're not using them for anything but punching. End of the game, I get it. There's some pieces there, but not really anything. They move 6. You get 1 turn with them to really do something. Detachment, I gave him a 3 because there are a couple detachments that want them. Tactical wants them. Warhorde wants them. Bully Boys want them. When you start moving away to those other detachments, you don't really get as much use for them. So they got middle of the road. And then points, I gave them a 4 because for 105 for 5, they die quick, but they punch up very well, right? So they do really well in a trading game, better than your average unit, because they definitely kill way more than 105 in its trade, right? So I think you can get like 2.5 times their value very routinely when it comes to what you trade out when killing a unit with them. That puts me at a 14 big boss.
All right, I gave him a 5 for max potential as well. I am including the gas combo. I'm including him being hit the max potential. Maybe tactical brigade, like you said, maybe even getting another strength from an order and being crazy. Then they're also getting but for me, I got him a 3 in utility, just because I accounted for the fact that you can bring them in smaller unit sizes and put them in SWAT teams. But we'll get to the next part. But then we have the detachment at 3 as well for list flexibility for all reasons you stated. But when you go to the points, is there an argument that you need the war boss though? Remember how we were talking about the Snagga, and the Snagga needs the beast boss to be important? Does the Nobz need the war boss to be played? I would say generally yes. The Breaka Boys, for example, don't need a war boss to be played. The boys don't need a war boss to be played. The Nobz, based off how they hit on force, how they, the data sheet ability, it's almost like the same thing you brought up for the Snaggas applies to the Nobz. So however we go forward with this and we backtrack to Snaggas, we'll have to reapply to be consistent to a degree. If you're saying, well, no one brings Snaggas without a beast boss. Well, does anybody bring Nobz without a war boss?
War boss is cheaper than beast boss, and Nobz can get gas. And
sure, no, I get that. I'm just saying in the sense that, is that not an example that you have to pay for a character to have the value? Now I'll say they'll have a higher value, right? Because we're trying to stop Snaggas from going to lads, so the peak will still put the rating higher. I'm just saying, in the mind of thinking, I need a character to make Nobz function. Is that not against them? Right? Is that not as kind of a slight against them?
So I could be argued that way. Yes, it would be a slight.
If it's because that's hard getting at Snaggas. I'm just trying to be logical, which is hard for me, right, as an orc. But I'm not saying that you're wrong about, beast boss is exclusive and that's fine. I'm just saying that you have to pay for someone. You got to pay for someone to get that knob going off, and it's a war boss.
It's true. It is true, because hitting on force.
Does that make his points a 3? Does that mean he's a 14? He's like at the top of big boss, right? Or is the flexibility of Nobz actually a 4? That's actually what I thought about it. So I thought, as we went on through it, I had the max as a 5, a 3 is utility to an 8, then a 4 on the list / detachment flexibility, and then a 4 on the points, or 3 on the points. I think you bring that down, right?
That puts you to a 15, right?
Maybe a 15, and that's where I think I had them when I really looked them over. So I think Nobz are at the bottom of war boss tier, because we're talking about, I have to pay for a war boss to get them to work. Otherwise, you could argue they could be higher, bumped up here, right? And that's why they're not up here, maybe. Because someone might argue, why are my Nobz not up here? Because I got to pay for all this different stuff to make them even function. They're not their own functional like these Breaka Boys. But that's cool. I think it's interesting that we're interested in there. I think they made war boss. They had to, in my opinion, in my heart. But I'm glad that they held up to the criteria scoring. But your points helped kind of clear it up for me, actually. So that was good. Then we move to, which is why I want this criteria, guys. You see it kind of unfold. Even though we're both biased in our own ways, you see that our arguments work to actually bolster the Nobz score. So then we go to the Squigs. I'll actually let you do Squigs because you like Squigs a lot. And I think I have a lower score than you. So I'll let you go first. Then I'll shoot them down a little bit because I'm a little upset about them. And then we'll round it out with a good position. Go ahead.
Again, if there's anybody who's more upset with pigs, it's me. Like, okay. This unit is my love. I literally have Max behind me, an entire shelf dedicated to all pigs, because I have Maximum. Love them. I ran them at multiple Novas. ran them at even Battle to End Alzheimer's, and Tactical Tortoise even talked about my stupid Big Hunt list that showed up where nobody played Big Hunt. Now, Squighogs, so for max potential, I gave them a 4 because, like, in the right categories, when you're talking, I just see you squunching that face. Big Hunt, getting your hunt target for an AP2 on those bad boys, and then giving them crit 5s, like sustained 5s, like that's a lot of attacks, bro. That's a lot of attacks. It don't matter if you're hitting on 3s and 4s. It's a lot of attacks. So I see. Cool yourself off. You're getting hot right now. I see you, right? So I have them at a 4, right? Because not only did the massive attacks, but getting the anti-monster vehicle on 4s, it's decent. With Lance, it's not bad. Utility, I gave them a 3. What stopped them from getting like a 2 is the fact that they've got higher toughness. They've got that feel no pain. They've got a higher move characteristic. Yeah, they have to pay a pivot. It's 1 inch. Everybody remember that. It's not 2. It's 1 for smaller bases like that. I've made that mistake myself. And overall, they're pretty average for their data sheet as far as utility is concerned. Detachment flexibility, get a 2. Nobody wants them really except for Warhorde and the Big Hunt. People will say tactical, but I don't see it. I play a lot of tactical. I don't see it. And then lastly, points. They get a 2 because GW has just massacred my boy and has made them stupid amounts of points for what they do. They don't even come close to what their value is. And you are literally making a detriment to yourself by playing them.
That's true. Now, not time to minor poo-poo. Now, what I will say is max potential, I gave them a 3. Not because I don't acknowledge everything you said for the amount of punches, the lands, the stacking of the abilities. It's because the max potential is also looking at their cost to a certain degree. Like, if you're paying for 300 plus the character, is that a real high potential for that cost? Even within the Orc Codex itself, if I'm paying the equivalent cost of max potential for Gaz and Nobz, is that fair? Is that a good max potential comparison? If Gaz and Nobz are a 5, or Boys and Gaz are a 5, are Squigs close right behind that? Or I don't think so.
It's hard because
I don't think so, even under their ideal conditions. But there's the argument. It's okay. So we'll let chat descend, but I gave him a 3. The utility, I gave him a 2. They're usually unruly and a detriment because of their size. It's not a utility for how big they are and how slow they are generally, but their toughness, their feel no pain, their bomb squig kind of hopefully make up for that. They do have synergy within lists as well, sometimes with like detachments and such. And so I'll still keep them at a 3 there. No, 2. You get them at a 2 there. And then for the detachment list and like the factions detachments it goes for and the list that it goes under, I still had them at a 2 because I'm a hater, even though you could argue that they are the backbone of like a bully archetype or the hunt as a faction. So it could bring them up to a 3 maybe for that one. And then for points, like I said, it's a 2 also. So at the very least, even if I gave them 1 or 2 more points, they would not break 11. So I have them at a 9 currently and naturally. Even if I take some of your arguments, they're a 10, 11 at best. So I'll put them right here behind my Killa Kans because I'm a hater. But we'll readjust them. All right.
You better put them ahead of Killa Kans though, because I'll take pigs before I take Killa Kans.
All right. We'll do. No, okay. We'll come back to it. I'll leave them there for my own heart right now. All right. Let's see what do we got next? Up here. No, not you guys. We have to
throw all the buggies.
What?
You want to just throw all the buggies into one choice?
We'll do that near the end. So right now we're gonna do Tankbustas, then we're gonna do War Bikers, and then we'll do the buggies and the plane. And the planes similarly, like you said, they'll be kind of near each other.
We'll just throw them all in the trash.
Yeah. So we still have a couple left. We still have like 5 real ones, and then the buggies and everything. So don't worry. But let me get through some of these chats real quick too. Murder Blood Moons with the 16-month membership. Gork and More wants to see Grots and Gitz up war. So he wants to see the grots move up. So chat, if you guys want them to, we'll see if you guys interact. Maybe I'll put a poll up. We can push some of these units around in this at the end. So make sure you guys get active now, because this is where you start to impact the tier list the most as we start to settle up and give our closing arguments for everything. Because you see, me and Brandon are close on a lot, but we still differ in other. Then Wicked Joe, can I get 22 months, get a baby Waaagh? Let's give him a Waaagh, Joe. No baby Waaagh for you, Wicked Joe. Shout out to the big boss, Wicked Joe, for 22 months since we started, man. All the support and love. Thank you very much again. Nice to still see you popping in and around. And we have Gravy Jones, 20 Snaggas, Boss, Rig, Gazora, Unbridled Carnage, 5 S tier spot. Whoa, let's go. He's saying no. I love that one. That's what he's talking about too. See, he's saying max potential. Max potential. 20 Snaggas. You run right up to the Catan shard or the Silent King, and you're like, I am disemboweling you today, even though you don't have bowels. But I love that. So thank you very much for the $2 CA, I think. I'm not sure what that is, and I won't pretend I do, but thank you very much. Very gracious of you. And our boy Vito, what's up? What were you saying?
I was going to say, I like his point, but the question you ask yourself is, can it kill Morty? If the answer is no, it don't belong in S tier.
I have to do the math. I don't know. Maybe, hopefully. We has our boy Vento. What's up, my homie? I've seen you around. He said, what's war? Keeping the vibes alive, rain or shine. Yeah, dude, you've been around for a long time too. $5 super chat there. He's been around since literally we had first memberships. I remember, because his picture has been always the same. Shout out to you, Git. Thank you for the love, keeping that Waaagh energy alive. Thank you for all the support to you, Git. Everybody's popping off because I see you guys got a lot to say. And Aaron, better not do my Gargantuan Squiggoth 30, 21 gym memberships. Let's go, Brandon. You better be here for something. What you got to say about that? Because I love the Squiggoth, but I got a criteria here. Got to do a criteria here. So let's do the Tankbustas. Let's see how they hold up to the criteria. So for Tankbustas, max potential, I'm at a 4. When you really get everything on all cylinders going, right detachments, right stacks, boom, they can really take problematic units out. I like that. Then you have the utility. They're sitting at just a straight up 2. They can get into a fight. So there is an argument maybe they could be at 3, because they could shoot and then move up the field again and fight for a bomber save. So I'm able to be talked up in that 1 point as I looked into it. Then for detachment flexibility, I have them at a 3, and not a 2. I'm at a 3 because even me myself, though it is anecdotal, but I've seen also with the list we cover that people will bring Tankbustas without the shock attack gun, without detachments that necessarily have synergy for some gun support, or they'll use it for mobile firing deck for the Trukk and have them inside of it. So there's an argument to bring 1, maybe 2. It's a thing that the enemy still has to kind of respect. So I give him a 3 for that. And then for points, I think they're barely at fair. They're almost overcosted. But I think they're barely at fair right now for Tankbustas at a 3. So that's a 4, 2, 3, 3. Could argue it's a 4, 3, 3, 3. But right now I have them at big boss category. So what you got?
We're close. I'll be quick with this one. 4, I'm right there with you. 3, I gave him for utility, right? Because utility, we also talk about the rules. We don't got a lot of units that get +1 to hit moon versus vehicles. Dude, that's good.
You said that before stream.
Huh?
You said that before stream, I think, right?
Yeah. Detachment, give him a 2. Because here's the part where we disagree. Not many detachments really just straight up benefit them, bring a benefit. And it's another one of those kind of cases where not having the shock attack gun, giving them reroll 1s, they really hurt. It hurts them. They are not really a good outside of a non-shooting list as a dependable fire support.
No.
So I put them at a 2. And then points, again, I put them at a 3. Average right there alongside with you. I hated the fact that they brought their points up. I didn't think it was well deserved. That was just stupid with the triple tap that we got after Mordaka.
So are you saying you have them at a
12
big boss tier?
Big boss. Yeah.
We both have a big boss tier. Love to see that. Let's see what else we got. I think that was fair analysis on where they're at right now. Stormboyz, maybe a little glazing, a little too exciting. Let's see what we think about Stormboyz. Did I go first on Tankbusters? I think I did. You can go first on Stormboyz.
I'm going to glaze session here. Stormboyz.
Oh, the Glazer. Let's go, dude.
This was going to happen.
Krispy Kreme Brandon here. All right, what's up?
So Stormboyz, max potential, I gave him a 3 because, like, I mean, the best you're going to get is what, 20 Stormboyz and then maybe like a gas lethal buff. Like, you're not really getting much out of killing with them. You're getting on average with them. Utility, I gave them a 4. Their toughness, 1 wound, is the only thing that stops them from being a 5. They would almost be perfect at everything else. But if they just had like a 2 wound profile out of T5, like, or T6 with a 1 wound profile, I would be comfortable giving them a 5. Detachment, I give them a 4 because, like, it's not like they're made for every detachment, but every detachment really, like, brings some kind of benefit to having them there. Then for points, I gave them a 4 as well. Not the perfect 5, because to me, a perfect 5 would be if they were 55 points. But at 65 points, they do a lot for what you're paying for them. And it's definitely above the average, right? And I think everybody's lists, seeing them on so many lists, shows that, like, they are very efficient for the points.
I actually had the same scores, just maybe a little bit different detailing. 1, I do account Deep Strike. That's why my Deffkoptas got that score, like I said earlier. And there's really something to be said, like you've been expressing, in movement. When you have infantry that can finally move 12 and fly, you know, even while I was playing Cult of Speed, I still missed when I didn't have one Stormboy unit on the list. Don't think you always, every single time, have to bring them. If you don't bring them, you're not crazy. But they do have a place to be said that in most competitive lists, you're trying to find the points to bring a 1, which makes me feel like, yeah, it's justified that they're sitting up here in the War Boss category at a 15 overall. That's what you got them 2 for, right? 15?
Yeah, 15.
And then we move on to the War Bikers. I like me some War Bikers. So I have War Bikers at a max potential 3, arguably 4. There is a slight argument to be 4 that in Cult of Speed, you know, when you're just sitting on their wounds, the thing is, when I played them, even then, they didn't push to 4. They still stayed at like a solid 3, just because when you bring them into big bricks and Cult of Speed, it's just a different max potential than a 3-man unit can somewhere else. It's just, in my opinion, they're 3. Then utility, they also get a 3. A 3 for the detachment flexibility, and then a 4 for point cost, because now they're 65 points, dude. That's good for their freaking toughness, their potential to actually run up and, like, touch something, get in the way, move, blah, just be existing as something that's moving up the field. Enemies don't just pick them up. Unlike the Stormboy, where the Stormboy gets picked up by, you know, a dirty napkin that fell off a top shelf. You know, War Bikers actually can endure some damage, dude, some pain. You can get lucky, especially in Cult of Speed. So I have to give them a 4. I'm pretty excited about them. They could almost get an additional point somewhere in there, but I gave them a 13. Maybe over 14.
I gave him a 12. I think I put him lower on the detachment with a 2, 3 across everything else except for a 4 for points. And it's like, I agree with you wholeheartedly, especially on the points, right? 2 years ago, there's a video of us talking where I was saying I'm starting to like War Bikers over Stormboyz in some cases, because you get more blade of wounds, you get a higher toughness, you can tilt off and actually get a cover save, like, you know, and just seeing them now drop to being the same points when I was, like, back then telling you how they're worth 5 points more, to be turning around and being like, they're the same points. There is, like, I mean, it's not, you don't throw out all your Stormboyz and replace them with War Bikers, but instead of taking that 3rd squad of Stormboyz or that 2nd squad of Stormboyz, you might be like, Bikers are interesting now. So I agree with you wholeheartedly. Put them at a 12.
I enjoy my Bikers for what they are a lot, but it's just hard to really compare when it's just infantry moves directly through terrain. It's just more mobility. So then I think that's a good spot right there. Big boss category. These are, remember, people look at it, big boss category is still B, good. That's above average.
Middle of the road, yeah.
B is upper above average, right? And C is lads kind of good, average, can still be played. So if you're looking at this like, man, these stuff in big boss is not, if you know Ork rankings, you know me naming it big boss is a sign of respect. Boss Snickrot is a big boss. You know, Uftak was a big boss. So there is respect in the name big boss.
It kind of hilariously, if you take a look, I feel like the stuff you're seeing in Big Boss and Up is stuff we routinely pretty much see on lists. It's kind of crazy how that works out, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah, that is working out, right? Except for niche. Yeah, it's actually playing out exactly like that. Love to see that. And then so then we have Trucks. Let's see where Trucks ends up. Let's see if it holds up to that same thing you just said. Did I go first last time, Biker?
I just went first, so it's on you now.
Let's go. Oh, wait. Oh, I mean, you're gonna go first on Gargantuan Squiggoth? Fine. All right, Trucks, very easy. Max potential, it's like straight up just a 3, just mid-tier, like we were talking about the wagon at the very beginning of the video. It's transport, does what it does. Can sometimes do a little bit more in different ways. Max potential 3, utility 3. It's pretty good size. It can stage up pretty well, and how much it actually holds, and I actually utilize its firing deck. I like it sometimes in some weird lists. Detachment flexibility, you could argue Trukk could be brought everywhere. Maybe even out the hunt, but you could argue they could be brought anywhere. And then for points, because it keeps going up and it's up to 70, I have felt the difference. So it's 3. So that'd give me a 14. So it'd be at the top of Big Boss tier, which is arguable to be a go up even higher. But what do you think?
So I've got it at a 15. It's at a War Boss for me.
Okay, cool.
So potential, I got a 3. Right? It's average. It's fucking Trukk, bro. Like, it's not wowing anybody. Utility, I've given it a 3 as well. Right? Good movement, decent toughness. It's got a good wounds. It's got a lot of utility. It's got a decent amount of utility with it. I could be argued utility would be a 4 because of the transport capability. Right? Detachment, I gave it a 5 because there's not a single detachment that you will run that you would say, fuck no, I'm not taking a Trukk. Like, everything. Like, you're like, hey, I got these, I'm rocking the hunt, but I still want a cheaper transport for my 10 Snaggas and my Beast Boss. Cool, I'll just take the Trukk instead of a kill rig. Right? Like, Trukk is viable no matter what detachment. Points, I gave it a 4. Yes, the points have gone up. The points have gone up from us having a 65-point auto take to now being a 70-point, like
50-point auto take. No, I was kidding.
Right? Because I think about it, like, how many other ways can you spend 70 points and get 10 wounds at toughness 8 with a transport capacity that moves 12? It's good.
Yeah,
that's real good.
You know what? Because we argued and some of the things I didn't give you, like with Commandos. You know what? You're good point. I'll keep the Trukk at War Boss tier. That's good. I'm good with that. I was trying not. Sometimes I try not to be too biased. I think both of us don't want to be too biased with our Ork love, so we sometimes critique a unit too hard in some categories, which is why it's good to review all this. So you know what? Yep, more Trukk, War Boss. It's all good with me. Then we're gonna get to the Buggies and the Planes, but before we get there, I gotta do it for my boy, the Gargantuan Squiggoth. Whoa, let it go. All right. I let you go first with it. It's fine, unless you're not ready for it. But go ahead.
Oh, I'm ready. And like, I love Aaron, but
don't let Aaron down.
I'm about to shit on his Gargantuan Squiggoth.
No.
So I'll tell you right now, though, the Gargantuan Squiggoth does get a 5 in max potential. Very few units for me get a 5 in max potential, because like the damage on that thing is silly. Let's be real about it. Like, that thing is a fucking problem.
Yeah,
right?
Fantastic.
Now, utility, I gave it a 3. Detachment, I gave that bitch a 0. There's not a detachment that just goes, I love it. I would be down to give it a 1 or 2 if it had the squig word and it got benefit from the hunt, and you're like, oh, it's nice. No, like, there's not a detachment that wants the Gargantuan Squiggoth. I'm sorry. But points, I gave it a 1. Could have been a 0. It is overcosted for what it does. Making it a 9 for a lads. Now, I get it. Everyone like, oh my god, the toughness, the wounds. In a world where Oath of Moment exists, like, it's got the same problem the Stompa has. There are too many armies out there that can just go, get the fuck off the table in one turn, and you're just sad panda looking at this, like 500 to 800 point idiots, right? That just, like, it's gone.
Yeah,
you did it. You played yourself. So I'm 9, standing firm. I love Aaron, but I'm not moving off of it.
Yeah, I think I give it an 8. I think I gave it a 5, 3, and then zeros for the last two. And got a 0 for the list flexibility. It's like, even though I'm down, trust me, I actually played a Stompa and a Gargantuan Squiggoth together, bro. It was dumb. So don't get me wrong, guys. I'll play it. But I totally understood while I was playing it. Like, dude, even under best safe scenario, this dude's still overpriced. He's a detriment to my list in most cases. Doesn't get any reasonable good buffs or strengths that I'm too excited for. It's really just bring a bunch of dudes and just meme it out. You know what I'm saying? And more so than even a Stompa. So even though I have him in War Chief category in my heart, he's gonna go in low lads category with about a 7 or an 8. What did I do with my Stompa? I threw my Stompa down here in accident.
I mean, for me, at least he's better than a Gorkanaut. I have him rated higher than a Gorkanaut.
That's fine. That's fine. He's better than a mech gun. We'll say that. And a hunter rig. Here we go. And a burner boy. Fuck me. No, they go together, dude. Burner boys and them go together. All right, so then we do the Stompa. You guys know I use a Stompa. Yeah, Tiger, we need to be able to use artist nails on my Gargantuan Squiggoth again. GW sucks for that. So disrespectful. And let's go to, and they haven't changed his transporting capability for Gaz, right? No. So as soon as you do that, I'll put him in S tier. No, I'm just kidding. So then, let's talk about the Stompa, right? And then, hey, that's funny in chat, but yeah, let's go with the Stompa now. So I'll go with the Stompa since you got to go with the Gargantuan Squiggoth. I am biased. I love my Stompa. I give him a little bit of glaze, but I'll stand on his business. So max potential of a Stompa, 5. Like you were talking about, you know, if you want to use the Morty criteria that you like to use, you know, he slaps Morty up and down twice. So then we get Morty getting smacked. For utility, you could argue it's a 0 to a 1. I gave him a 1 because the utility of my heart of putting 20 dudes inside of him has actually played a factor in very minor skewed games where I've put full bigger grots in him before, or I put a unit of boys in him before. So I'll still give him 1 utility, and for how big and stupid, like he stands like this, you know what I'm saying? So he's been able to shoot over a line a little bit in a funny way that's not real. Nice. But then we have the detachment flexibility. He gets a 1. I almost gave him a 0 because he's not real to me in Mordaka. People will say he does matter in Mordaka. But yeah, I gave him a 1 for that, just because he could be played arguably. And then for points, I gave him a 2. A 2 because you could give him a 1 for some orc players because they think 800 is unreasonable. But I think if you make him 500, it's unreasonable, or maybe even like 600 because, well, not unreasonable, but it gets silly because then you're just standing with 3 big dudes and never shooting and never able to move. Like you're shooting a lot, but you're never able to move around the field. But it feels he can kill a lot of stuff, but he needs to come down to like 650, 700.
650 was going to be the number that I said would feel
the mech tax. Right. You have to pay the mech tax. You pay for the little dude to run around and poke him in the butt. So that's fine. Yeah. So overall for a score, I got him at a 9 because I'm a glazer and I love him. And he's legit guy. He actually had results at GTs at least half a dozen times for 4-1, 5-1 with Stompa. You can totally make him work. He's not as memeish as a Gargantuan Squiggoth. But what do you think?
I actually glazed the Stompa more than you did. So check that out. So I gave him a 5 because, again, in melee, he's a fucking problem. Like, he will slap 3 fucking Mortys in 1 round of combat.
We'll get to that back. Remind me about that, but keep going.
So, yeah, I mean, you get him in combat with Morty and his fucking Demon Prince, and he'll send both of them to the fucking ER. Like, get him out, right? And then utility, I gave him a 1. I wanted to put him at a 0, but gave him a 1 because he does have a transport capacity. There's hilarious moves to be made where you just take a Congo line of grots, and then now nobody can charge your Stompa. It's actually very hilarious.
Yeah.
Detachment flexibility, I gave him 2. Here's where the broken record comes in, because there's 2 detachments that want him. Dread Mob and Mordaka. Which you don't think Mordaka wants him. I do think, because advance and shoot.
No, I think it's fine. It's just not real.
On a big idiot body that like needs to get out of his corner, like, yes, you do want it. And then for points, I gave him a 2. Again, he's too expensive. They got to be careful with it because, like, if they drop him too much, he'll just be broken beyond belief. But in a whole meta that we're in, and with the amount of armies that can really like just yoke out 40 wounds like that quick at a toughness 12, he's too expensive.
Yeah, he is. What I will say is for his bigness, how silly he is, he really needs the ability to go through terrain.
Yeah,
because he might be able to krump Morty, but he can't even like get to Morty because of terrain. So I'm saying in shooting, he crumps Morty and Dread Mob.
Maybe you could model the arms down, and then its engagement range is within 5, right? So like you just put the saw over where he is.
You just put the saw over Morty. Like, I got you. Like, I made it to you. Oh yeah, for real.
That looks like engagement range to me.
Yeah, but we still gave him the same. He's still a proper lad. I would put him ahead of these Gitz.
He's a war chief in our hearts, but realistically on the table, he
is. And then we're getting near the end here. So chat, time to kick it up, because I see you guys got a lot to say about how we're going to start adjusting some of these here at the end. Try to beat that 2-hour mark for the Gitz in the chat. So then we're going to try to do all these, condense these puggies kind of real quick, punch through them all. Relatively easy, and then we'll put one above them. I think all the buggies are lads category.
Yeah, all of them.
So really it just comes down to the order. So I'll place them in the general order that I kind of have them. And then, we can go from there. Kind of where I'm at with buggies. Mega Chat, Scrap Jet's my favorite. Argue with the Boom. Trukk, only because I actually utilize his indirect with the mech of +1. So I am giving him more points for max potential and such like that. And Shock Jump, he really is really exclusive to Cult of Speed. That's why he's so low alongside this guy, where they're not really bringing anything too useful, in my opinion, to the table. Unlike Tim, he has a good data sheet ability and good damage potential and skirmishing. So I got Trek as the best one, then Boom, followed by Breaka, Shock, and then Custom.
I had them all at 9s, with the exception of the Shock Jump Dragster being a little bit better because of its mobility, its utility.
Mm-hmm.
Its points are more, which kind of offset a little bit more, but having a precision gun that that mobility, a precision gun, I think it scores a little bit better than everybody else. He's
cheaper. He's one of the cheapest. He's like the cheapest. These 3 are the same cost right here. These 3 all next to each other. They're all 70.
Isn't the Shock Jump actually more though? Isn't it like 90?
No, I use them all the time. I've too familiar now with these buggies. I think the Shock Jump's fine as just like a 1, but I usually find more utility in game with the other stuff. So we'll keep them. They're all lads. They're preference. Everybody uses them. So we use that. And then for planes, I think we'll just put one plane out here. I think what you said, I think we agree that the Dacajet's the only real viable plane. Would you put him in lad though? I feel like he's still like just top.
They're all in runs, but it's just it's just the only one that it's the only one that doesn't get like all zeros, right? Because like unfortunately aircraft are really rough for this edition, first and foremost. Our aircraft is probably the shittiest form of aircraft that there is. And the Dacajet, there are some arguments for it in Cult of Speed, but it'll never win those arguments. It just gets talked about.
Yeah.
And for that, we recognize it with being the best of the idiots.
Yep. All right. So let's reorganize some of these things and get it where it's going. Maybe we start with the bottom. Chat, let's see. I'm looking. I see you guys. Remember, channel members, keep it going. Guys brought good things up for Grots earlier. So if you got something to say about our war bust here, say it now. Well, let's start off. We got runs. We're keeping it. Lads. Want to reorganize these lads. Right now, at the top of lads tier, we have Lootas. Anything here we want to reorganize above it? I think Stompa goes above a Death Dread personally, but
get out of here. Go away. Don't hit me with that.
Squighogs Boyz, Killa Kans, I may be glazing a little too much. Not sure there. Kill Rig.
Squighogs above Cans.
What about the mech guns?
Mech gun
I think it's worse. Like that. Maybe that. I think it's literally like this. You tell me for real. In the hunt, right? I already know you're bringing kill rate, even though I know in
You're
theory,
right. Mech gun I have it as 7. Mech gun I have it as 7, and all the buggies I have at 9s.
Yeah.
So that's 100%.
But the hunter rig is what I'm talking about versus the buggies. So the hunter rig, I understand its theory and stats, which is all it's living on. But even in the one detachment you're going to bring it for its stats, the hunt, are you not just replacing all those points with other stuff? It doesn't even take its role in that detachment for just stats. Like, wouldn't you just rather bring other things in the one detachment? Unlike in Cult of Speed, where I can make an argument for all of these buggies in Cult of Speed, even if it's just one.
But aren't you the dude who like just glazed so hard the 20 Snagga boys led by a beast boss in the hunt? Like, ooh, you ain't toting them around in a kill rig. You need a hunter rig for that. So
I didn't. No, that was for Warhorde. I was looting them for Warhorde, so I bring them.
Oh, I thought you was doing it in the hunt.
No, when I was a weirdo playing the hunt and I was just attempting for my life to flex them and try to get them to be more interesting, I would attempt things, but I don't advocate for it. I think if all these buggies advocate for more in my real list that I play, I will use some of these buggies, and so will other Cult of Speed type of players too. But even real to hunt players won't use a hunter rig in really any competitive sense. But I will use some variation
I
of
will
buggies.
take the hunt with a hunter rig to a GT.
Okay.
Just to spite you.
All right. Until then, he sucks. Until then, he's right there. All right, cool. Let's see. Gargantuan Squiggoth above the buggies. I don't think so either for the same thing, but I'll put him above the custom booster blaster because that guy sucks.
He does suck.
And then for the rest of these, I think lads tier is pretty fair. Do any of these guys want to bump up? Do we want to chat? Do we want to bump Lootas up to lads to big boss tier? Let us know. All right, so now we move up to big boss tier.
Can you
Battle
fix
wagon
one
come
more
down?
thing?
What?
Can you fix one more thing?
What's up?
Put the Squighogs Boyz where they belong, ahead of the Killa Kans. Don't do that. Don't do that. You know where they belong in your heart. You know where they belong.
Yeah. We belong to be judged because GW keeps doing things to them. So yeah. So we might go back to that, but in my heart, I'm having a hard time putting them there. But speaking realistically, the majority are probably right. They definitely can be argued right there. Fine. I'll do it there. That seems more reasonable. But I might ignore you and flip that later. Hopefully nobody sees in the rewatch. All right, so then we go to the big boss. So for the big top, I don't know if this order is correct. We were just kind of putting them down. So Battle Wagon, I think it is at the back of Big Boss, right?
Yeah.
Chat, let's see what's going on with chat.
Big Boss feels right. I think Flash gets leading Big Boss feels right.
It's funny because the chat's agree having a good time representing. Yeah, chat, what's up? Giving the can some love. That's what I love to see. People are saying Lootas go up to Big Boss and the Flash gets have to go up to War Boss. That's a fair assessment. So Battle Wagon, bottom of Big Boss. I think that's fair. Mega Nobz, fair. The argument is Snaggas. Do Snaggas really belong in Big Boss on their own? Without the Beast Boss, they are really limited to them. I almost want to drop them down here.
Lads. Let them lead lads, bro.
I almost want to drop them to lads. I almost feel like your argument, even though I still hold up to it, because once we got to the Nobz, I applied your argument there too. Then it did make me feel like I have to bring the Snaggas down to lads, because they kind of bother me in that case. But then you also get into, well, would I ever bring Lootas without a shock attack gun? Right?
Yeah, you would.
And in that case, it's like, well,
it's 100 points, bro.
You could.
I would. Dread Mob, I did it all the time.
Only because in more DACA. In more DACA, I would consider them. In Dread Mob, I don't know, but in more DACA, I would, because you could strip cover naturally, give them AP.
100 points. Who cares?
Exactly, and that's the issue. Is for Snagga Boys, they cost too much.
Yeah.
To in my opinion, where they're at. So in my opinion, I think we might come back. We'll see what chat has to say, but I might put them back up there. But you really never, ever, no detachment, no list archetypes, no styles, do you ever see anything Snagga's brought other than with a beast boss?
Yeah, you'll never see them by themselves.
Which means the data sheet itself doesn't stand on its own necessarily. Nope. Even at max potential, the Snaggas aren't doing the damage, right? The Nobz are doing the damage at their max potential when you bring them alongside someone.
Yep.
So that's pretty close. So I'm gonna leave them there for now, but I'll chew it over. Chat's chewing it over too. Then we got War Bikers. I think they feel good at Big Boss there.
Yeah.
Tankbustas feel solid there.
I feel like Tankbustas need to go above Deffkoptas though.
I think you just feel that way because how you feel about them, but they're not. I don't see them getting like any more results or being that more impactful currently at the time of this. I think it's how we feel about them before.
We could fight over that because
when we go by the criteria, right? It's like, you know, who's getting their stuff off. Well, Breaka Boys, then it goes Breaka Boys over Tankbustas.
I think Breaka Boys behind Tankbustas, actually.
That's what I'm saying. Even though they got a higher score for both of us or about the same.
Breaka Boys, I gave them a 12, and Tankbustas, I gave them a 12. So they're
about the same. That's what I'm saying. They're about the same anyways.
Yeah.
And then Flash Gitz.
I think, yeah, leading Big Boss.
Man, it's close, but I have a hard time pushing them up to the same tier as these other units. But I almost want to for a 5-man and for Tactical Brigade.
I can't because here's the one thing that stops me from moving them up.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that stops, right? AP1. For anybody who knows, when your biggest enemy for your Flash Gitz is cover, like I have had AP1 turn my wildest, wettest dreams into just floppy 2 wounds against power armor because of cover. It is not fun. If they were AP2, you'd see them so much higher on the list. If there was any way to get them AP2, you'd see them so much higher on the list. There's no way to give them ignores cover. There's no way to get them to AP2. It's very hard to score them that high.
You mean Mordaka?
Okay, who's running fucking Mordaka? I forgot the stratagems because nobody's running it.
Yeah. No, I get it. It's one of those things they were talking about. It's really hard to say. I'm high on Flash Gitz, but I don't know if I'm high enough to put them in above like really, really good tier.
Nope.
Because I don't know. It's hard to say. I could play a game without one. You know what I'm saying? I could play a game without them. But they feel really, really good. I might have to put them up.
And how did Mordaka get the no cover stratagem when that was like clearly an OG Blood Axes thing? Right? You remember that from like OG 9th? And like that was a Blood Axe thing. Why the hell did they give it to Mordaka?
I don't know, but when Mordaka can get actual play, we can take it more into consideration for its tier grading, right? Where units end up. Then we go to the War Boss. So does anything bump up to War Chief? Because chat wants Grot to move up to War Chief, but I don't move him there.
I would love to see how chat can sell me on it. The best I can give Grots is a 3 for max potential, because if you have lethals, the lethal aura from Gaz, sustained, and Dirty Mike, I can bump them up to a 3, right?
So that was the argument from chat, was that if you're talking about Dirty Mike and the boys, right, with the Grots, that's the Grot Ward Snagga for you guys, then his max potential goes up for the whole unit because you're including the boys for that. So instead of it being a 1 or a 2, then you would bump up the Grot's max potential to a 3 or a 4.
Max potential to a 3, utility to a 4, still puts him at 17.
That's what I was going to say. They still end up at 17, which is why I think the criteria is so important, because they are still an amazing unit, but I still don't think they're like an S tier unit across all 40K or across the Orc Codex. You're good with just 1, and that's because of the role it serves. It's just so good at that role that you think it's S tier, but it doesn't bleed over into other categories, because S tier is exceptional, above and beyond, can do super diversity, and that's not necessarily what Grots do. And on that, I don't think any Orc unit falls into the S tier category when it comes to our data sheets, right? When you org players looking at this might hate me and automatically come at us right this because they think you guys don't know anything's S tier, you guys don't understand us. I'm going to argue that we understand very well, and we are actually reflecting what the player base says about orcs. Our data sheets aren't that impactful. Our units aren't that strong individually. It's the the group of association that all of them put together is pushing through. And then really our characters are exceptional. And we did our character tier list video. We had some S tiers and we had a lot of A tiers. And I think that's what pushes it through. But the units themselves don't find themselves in a category like another unit that could be considered an S tier unit in along 40K or internally comparing to one another. They do their job where they do it well. Do any of these guys move up, or they all just stay where they're at? I almost move a Trukk there, maybe Nobz in front of Commandos, and then keep it kind of like that.
Yeah, I think that feels right. What I would say to the argument of people like saying like we don't have units that are S tier, we don't have like war chief level. Like the best reflection I would tell you is look at the warp spiders data sheet and what they cost and the points they are and what they do, and that answers your question. Like you won't find a data sheet that looks like that you could just easily be like, this is S tier unit. Like we don't have anything like that, and it's okay. But like it's hard for us to say that we have an S tier level unit when we just don't.
I think that's reflection of our identity as a faction, though. If you're running around saying we have S tier individual data sheets, we did. It was called Mega Nobz at the 4 at Feel No Pain, and then they were like, never mind, can't have that.
Get them out of here.
I'm not saying they never existed. You can say Tankbustas with Sustain 2 is an S tier unit, right? So it's not that I don't understand that we could get there. I'm saying that we aren't there anymore right now. I'm not saying we never have. I'm just saying we don't reflect that right now. And I think our win rate and our list combinations and everything kind of reflects that, and it holds up. So if you guys think different, you can leave in arguments in the chats. I love to hear it. I read them all. I reply, even when the guys are negative or poo-poo or disagree. It doesn't matter. You're an orc. You're here to get your teeth knocked out. So get stuck in. I want to hear what you guys got to say. It's super exciting. I hope you guys actually like the criteria, even though some of you guys might disagree with things that end up here. Let me know why, how we could improve it. And to me, it was just to stop the passions from putting guys in funny categories, because our anecdotal experiences, our personal preferences, and yours too, maybe too reflecting on our personal tier list sometimes, right? I'd put Cans like a big boss category at the bottom if it was just me in my head on my own, So it's like, it's fine. It's fine. If you disagree, no problem here. That's why we have the criteria. Like chat was coming back and telling us, well, maybe you should have given Zod in the grot. The grot's 2 more points because Zod. Sure, I'll give you that argument. It still kept him at 17, which is peak of War Boss, which is right where the boys essentially were too. 16, 17 for both of them. So they're like tied. I think boys, being at War Boss tier alongside grots is awesome. And that's why I have Deff Dread so low, because those two put together is 120 points like the Deff Dread. Hey, whoa! I just had to throw the dust and the dirt in there on the dirt on the Deff Dread's eyes right there.
We have 2 units in the entire codex, or maybe 3 that have a 2+ armor save. Okay, don't knock on one of them. One of them's a Deff Dread boy.
Yeah. No, I tried my Deff Dread, bro. He let me down too many times, I guess, huh? So with that being said, that's our tier list, orc tier list. Thank you very much, Brandon. It was fun. Hopefully you guys had fun with it. Remember, we do this just for the excitement, the experience, and just to get talking about our models. So I listened to some of the stuff from last comments. Hopefully you guys enjoy the improvements we did on this. It was easy to follow, fun to follow, and you guys can give us feedback on where you think stuff should be. So with that being said, any last words for you, Brandon?
Thanks for coming on. Appreciate you having me on here, being able to do this tier list with you. A lot of fun. I love the orc community. I love our community. Big kudos and shout outs to those that made my YouTube subscriptions happen, so that way we can stream this weekend. And just a little shout out. So this weekend we will be live streaming our local tournament that's going to happen. I will link the YouTube in the Discord, Nova Elite Wargaming. Big social that the team does and gets together, man. It's going to be a good time. It'll be a good stream. And super happy to be here, appreciative of it. And let's go, baby. Fight me in the chat. I'm ready to fight over these unit
Let's get your
rankings.
teeth knocked out, you Gitz. Whoa! So if you want any more tier list videos, we'll do a Legends one. We can do a detachment tier list video. There's more we can do. They don't have to be this crazy long, but we can break it down. Of course, we have the paint competition this week and then fix my list next week. So if you're a channel member, reach out to get fix your list where I give you guys a call and we actually talk about what you want to do. So with that being said, only one thing to keep in mind is don't cross our wall because we'll knock your teeth out. Whoa.